6119. That's 501-361-19. Ovarian cancer is devastating and difficult to diagnose. It's often only caught in advanced stages, and 4 out of 5 women live to see its return. I knew ovarian cancer. Come on. Look at us.
Thank you, Steffi. Thank you so much. Now, can you enter the studio? I don't see you in the studio. If you want to, yeah. Whatever you want the people to see.
This is so smooth.
Oh, I need to put the mic on.
What I need to do is turn the volume on. Okay, so you do the mic.
And turn your volume all the way down.
Okay, so that's.
Can you just get me in here?
So you need me on a headset?
If you need. Thank you.
It was not. I wanted to hear you then with a headset. Yeah. See if I can do without the headset.
Tony, not closing the door. I don't care what nobody say. We coming in hot this morning on Community Voices Live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. You were listening to the Black Eyed Peas with Boom, Boom, Pow. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, we want to let you know how grateful we are that you are here. There is not a doubt in my mind that we would not be here if it were not for you. You keep us alive. You keep us on the beat. You keep us with the boom, boom, power. So we thank you for that. All of the ways that you show up for KABF 88.3 FM, none of them go unnoticed. When you show up in community with, oh, let me give a shout out to Mr. Jacob, Ernest Jacob. I saw you Tuesday night, walked right up on me, bold and everything, talking about, I know who you are. I'm your Facebook friend. I was like, okay, Mr. Jacob. So all of the ways that you show up in community, we love that. All of the ways that you show up to push back, all of the ways that you show up to participate in the conversation by calling. And that reminds me, the phone lines are already open at 501-433-0088. Phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. And so you are welcome to this space where we center Blackness in the context of the human story in the spirit of Sawubona, that spirit of oneness that binds us together by our humanity. There's nothing you can do about the fact that we are bound together, but we can think about how we move together, how we live together, how we coexist. And that's always the underpinning for these conversations. And so I'm glad right now to let you know that you got your co-host live in studio today. Your co-host is the Pastor Toney Orr.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, it's great to be here on this Tuesday with Community Voices. And listen, if you want to bring up boom, 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 we are in pledge drive. We're still in pledge drive. Your donations and your pledges go to the sustainability of KBF 88.3 FM. Been around for 41 years. We're here in 42 years, making sure that we enlighten, empower, and educate the community. You can give three ways. You can go to www.kabf.org, click the donate button. While you there, you can become a sustaining monthly member of KABF 88.3. You can also call in at 372-501-372-6119, talk to our program manager, Charles Ray, and you can give your pledge of donation that way. You can also send a check of money order to 2101 South Main Street here in Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206. You can stop by the station at that same address, 2101 South Main Street, or you can call one of your favorite shows at 501-433-0088. Also, if you are an upcoming entrepreneur, if you have a business, or if you have some information or some thoughts that you want to get out to the community, during Pledge Drive, we have what we call Buy a Watt. For $150, you get 20 60-second spots. That's 20 minutes of airtime. You, as they said in the old days, you can't beat that with a stick. You know, it's something that you could get that would help promote your business, help promote whatever you're doing, your organization. So that is something we offer during Pledge Drive. And if anybody decides to give a $500 donation, you actually get your name. It's a plaque behind me. You can, move my mic. You can see it. You're gonna get your name on the plaque that it'll be immortalized in the studio for as long as the studio is here. So remember, just to help support KABF and all, we appreciate all you do, showing up for events, showing up for fundraisers, showing up in the community, and showing up with your finances to help KABF 88.3 FM to continue to do what it do. So bring that boom, boom, boom.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I just want our guest in the house to just introduce yourself. We'll get into the conversation after the announcements, but just introduce yourself however you want to introduce yourself to the people. Who are you in this space?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashton Hall. I am a fashion designer, and I'm just so excited to be here this morning. with Denise and Tony. I think this is going to be a great conversation this morning.
It's going to be a great conversation this morning. We already got low on the line wishing us life, prosperity, and health. Tony, I fixed your mic. Your mic was low because the mute button was on, but now we got you unmuted. Everybody's unmuted. We should be good. Everybody should be good.
What I had to say.
So then. Okay, I do have some.
Thanksgiving.
I don't do holidays.
I know you don't do holidays.
So it don't make me no difference what day it is. Why are you coming back being all? What happened to you? Where you was at? Maybe you need to go back.
Well,
okay, so somebody else is saying, okay, so these are the first two. So Lo and Tim said can't hear you, Tony. Okay, I took him off mute. Y'all let me know. Can you hear him now? Can you hear him now? Tony, do a testing for me.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Can you hear him now? Just let me know because the volume is all the way up and he's not on mute. So let us know. Thank you. I love the way community shows up for us every single time. I do want to make some announcements before we get started with our conversation on this morning. Arkansas Raps presents World AIDS Day Week of Awareness, December 1st through 5th, 2025. This year's theme is Let Communities Lead, Rethink, Rebuild, and Rise. Join us Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. at the City Hall Boardroom, 500 West Markham for our Ubuntu civic engagement program. Mayor Scott will share our city proclamation and our team will present a mini presentation on the impact of HIV on our community. We urge as many individuals as possible to join us in this exercise in speaking to power. For more information, reach out to Tommy at arraps.org or call us at 501-379-8357. We urge as many individuals as possible to join us in this exercise in speaking to power. For more information, reach out to Tommy at arrapps.org, or you can call at 501-379-8357. Also want to announce this morning that if you have asthma, let's talk about it. Your voice matters. If you have asthma, we want to hear your story. Join our focus group to share your experiences and help improve asthma care for families like yours. Who can join? Adolescents ages 12 through 17 with asthma, their caregiver or parent, one adolescent per household. What's in it for you? A quick 60-minute session and a $50 Amazon gift card. Make a real difference in asthma care. Contact Rita Brown at 501-364-1538. Again, you can contact Rita Brown at 501-364-1538. Or you can email her at hudsonbrownr at archildrens.org. We need your help. We are looking for parents or legal guardians and their 8 to 10-year-old child. Parents must currently use tobacco, cigarettes, cigars, snuff, that's what it looks like, smokeless vapes, etc. Families must live in is that Deshae, Phillips, Lee, or Chico County? How do I find out more? You can call 501-830-1280, 501-830-1280, or you can email familytobaccoproject@uams.edu. Here's another one. Okay. KABF Holiday Hangout Fundraiser, Tuesday, December 9th. I think I just said that Tuesday was December 6th.
Tuesday, December 9th.
Tuesday, December 9th, 5 to 7 p.m. at Whitewater Tavern. Kick back and meet KABF hosts during happy hour. Grab some exclusive KABF merch for the holidays. Donate at www.kabf.org. Whew, those are your announcements. Oh, no. It's another one, y'all. Here go one more. Okay. Last week, to the KABF family, last week we received the sad news of the passing of Mr. Lee Anthony, teacher, owner of Soul Brothers Record Shop and founder of the legendary True Soul record label, known for deep sounds west of Stax. A resolution will be given at his funeral this Saturday, November 29th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Allison Presbyterian Church, 922 Wright Avenue, right here in Little Rock, 72202. If you would like to share any fun or thoughtful memories of Mr. Anthony, or Soul Brothers Record Shop, please contact Tim Anthony at 501-773-1919. Tim has called and requested that the KABF team say some words. The visitation is family hour is Friday, November 28th. Public viewing is 1 to 5 p.m. Family hour 6 to 7 p.m. And at Premier Funeral Home, 1020 West Daisy L. Gatson Bates, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72202. Like they say in the church. these are your announcements, and let us govern ourselves accordingly. Want to make sure that we stop right now in regard to Mr. Lee Anthony, who so many of you know, who is a dear member of the KABF family. As always, we want to pause and just hold sacred space for him right now. So let's do that. Let's be quiet for a moment. Thank y'all so much for that. So here we are. I want to talk about Boom Boom Pow and then get into our EJI tidbit for today. I chose EJI tidbit. I chose the EJI tidbit for today, and I chose the song based on who we have in the station today, based on Ashton Hall. Ashton Hall is a designer, is a fashion designer, is a stylist, is a creative, is an entrepreneur, is all of those things. And when we met, I'm still laughing at how we met. Do you remember how we met? Okay. So let me just give you a little bit of housekeeping. So you're talking to me, and I know that we've already had a brief conversation, but I'm going to be asking you questions, but you're going to be answering the listeners. You're not answering me. So I may be asking you a question that I already know the answer to, because you're not talking to me, you're talking to the listeners. And so don't be like, I told you that when I saw you, because they don't know that. And your listening audience on Facebook is right in front of you. So if your camera is right there, yeah, that's who you're talking to right there. I know it's hard because you want to look at the person that's talking, but that's your audience right there. But I was minding my business, y'all. Let me tell you how I met Ashton. Minding my own business in the very Barnes & Noble South, the one on Chenal. I was in Barnes & Noble, and I was reading the paper. And I was reading the paper the way, folks read the paper. It's all up. It must not have been in front of my face. It was covering my face, which means you can't even see who it is behind the papers. You can see my black hands holding the paper, but you can't even see who it is behind the paper. And this man, I like bold men. Let me just say that. I like it when you walk right up to me and tell me exactly what's on your mind. So you were like, oh my goodness, you're reading the paper. So since you don't know anything about me, let me just say this. When you said that, I wanted to say, so you ain't never seen no black person read the paper before? Because
I'm surprised you did.
I'm surprised I didn't look like that. It might have been on my face, but I did not say that. I was like, yeah, I'm reading the paper. Like, what's the problem? And you were like, oh, I'm in the paper. I'm a spread. I'm talking about. It was a whole performance. And I was like, who is this man? And so you had a spread because you had just done a fashion show. Tell us a little bit just about that particular fashion show.
So I was so excited because I had just completed the fashion show at the Chanel Country Club. We partnered up with Don Terrell, and we do it each year. We do a big show, and this show, a portion of the proceeds would go to her yoga warriors. But I found out, I guess, the day prior that they did a full spread in the newspaper. So I was searching all downtown to try to find it, and they told me, go to Barnes & Noble, they'll have the newspaper. So sure enough, I just got the copies, I just saw the article, and there I saw Denise reading the paper. So I said, that's why I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, you're reading the newspaper, so you must be reading about me. And she just looked at me like, first of all, I don't know who you are. It is really not that serious. Take it down a notch. But, when I think about my journey and the accomplishments that I've done in my career, I don't take for granted those little moments because, again, I'm able to use my platform and provide opportunities where organizations just like the Yoga Warriors could partner with me and share their vision. So I guess that was the excess moment of excitement when we met. But since then, we've communicated back and forth. And again, I'm just so glad for this opportunity to be here with the listening audience.
Yeah, and when you say take advantage of all the moments, this leads into why I chose this song, because I know that you're a designer and a stylist. I know you do fashion shows, so I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity and say, hey, you have plus size models. Because listen, I used to be a professional model. Is there any room in there for me? Remember we had that conversation? Because I ain't never scared. The Bible said one principle that I do believe in the Bible says you have not because you ask not. And so I said, look, and so this song, Boom Boom Pow, is the song that I used to, one of the songs that I used to model down the runway. It was playing when I would go down the runway. And I would be wearing, for this particular song, I would be wearing a cat suit.
Okay, you came prepared and ready.
And I would have on a jacket, a blazer, because as I walk down the runway, I'm gonna take off this blazer and I'm gonna spin around. I'm gonna spin it over my shoulder and I'm gonna walk it. And so the song has a great walking beat, but because I was new to the scene and I had on heels and I was not used to wearing heels, I couldn't walk that fast. And so what they did is like, oh, I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna let you walk on every other beat. And so the music got you hyped, like that. But here I come. Slow, baby. Here I come slow with that cat suit. You better work it, girl. And that's what I used to do. And so I wanted to come like I was modeled. I came ready. Just in case you want to put me on, you want me to show you a little something. I'll show you a little something.
I love it. This is the one thing I think the takeaway from our initial meeting was that I loved your energy. I loved your positivity. Absolutely. I think, why wouldn't I put you in my next fashion show? It would be to my loss if I didn't.
Hey, y'all heard that. I got witnesses.
On 100,000 watts, we heard it.
There you go. So you are absolutely invited to be one of my key models for the next fashion show.
I'm so excited because I feel like for me, modeling is like riding a bike. Like once you get on that stage, you hear that music, it comes off. It all comes back.
Exactly.
And so another reason that I wanted to use that song, besides my own shameless plug to be in your fashion show, was because because the Black Eyed Peas are an alternative hip hop group.
Yes.
Because what they wanted to do is like we're gonna rail against. We want to dismantle this stereotype around rap music that says that it should be violence and that it should be degrading for Black women in particular. Like, we don't believe that's what it's about. We don't believe it should be homophobic. We believe that it should be inclusive. We believe it should be conscious. We believe that it should be something that adds life and purpose and value to those of us who choose to listen to it. And so when I think about them and who they are and how they showed up in this space, and even just showing up this space and being in the space and being able to tell the story of how they were rejected because the people who pay for the radio stations and they choose what's going to be listened to, they wanted the violence, they wanted the degradation and dehumanization of Black, but they wanted to play that. So they didn't often get as much, the Black Eyed Peas didn't often get as much exposure as they should have, because that's not what they wanted to do. And so all of us who are out there listening to this music, and we're like, all they do is do that. It's by design that the media is being used against us in this quest that we have to live as one in the spirit of Sawubona. The media is dividing us by what they choose to play for us. And so we can counter that by what we choose to listen to, right? And so I love the Black Eyed Peas because of that. And in this song, Boom Boom Pow, they say this. They say, I'm so 3008, you so 2000 and late. We sold 3008, you sold 2000 and late, meaning what? We're coming to bring you something fresh and new and exciting. We're coming to raise you to your level of consciousness, a new way of thinking, a new way of being, a new way of listening, a new way of moving, a new way of receiving. We're coming to give you something that the other folks have played out. All of what they're doing is played out. You've seen it before. It's no longer relevant. You don't even like it anymore. And yet this is what you are bombarded with. But we are here to offer you something else. And so when I was researching you, Ashton, I was like, yes, I was reading all on your website. I mean, because I'm a researcher. I'm gonna read every word, sir. That's what I'm going to do. And so I was like, that's how I felt about you, because I had already met you. I was like, listen, this is somebody new up in here. Because if we had looked around Barnes and know anybody in the space with a record, because most of the people that are there, we have kind of formed this little group. We pretty much know who's there. We pretty much know who's gonna sit where. And so here you are showing up like, this got to be somebody different in the line, trying to do whatever he's trying to do. Because look at him. And so when I think about how you describe your your fashion art, when I think about how you describe who you are, when I think about, I read your book, when I think about your journey, just the freshness that you bring to the space. I wanted to lift that up and tell you why I picked this song. Because sometimes I let the guest pick the song, but I didn't let you pick the song because I already knew this is what I wanted to use. And let me get this message in before we go to the EJI tidbit. Who are some of the shoulders that Mr. Hall is standing on in the designer world? Who are some of the shoulders that Mr. Hall is standing on in the designer world? That's from Lo.
So I would say when I started out my career back in the 80s, again, hip hop was coming through. So as you were saying, the Black Eyed Peas, I mean, they're instrumental and along with some other key rap groups that set the foundation and the direction of rap back in the days. But as a designer, you know, when I was in design school, one of the key two designers that I really studied to really map and build my collection on would be Yves Saint Laurent. And then what really pushed me to the next level to say, I can do this, was Patrick Kelly. Because Patrick Kelly was one of our first, you know, along with Willie Weir, you know, those were the first two iconic Black designers while I was studying in school. And to know that Patrick Kelly was in Paris, that just changed my whole dynamic of my journey. I knew at that time that I'm going to put that in as one of my goals. And I actually achieved that. I was able to become a creative director and live in Paris. And because of what Patrick Kelly did, you know, I had the opportunity to meet one of the hairstylists, some of the models. I felt like I was a few degrees away from him, you know, and then eventually, unfortunately, you know, he passed away. So I didn't get to physically meet him per se. But again, it inspired me to say, if he could do it, then so can I. And that's what really pushed me to many of my achievements along the way.
So I want to bring up, thank you, Lo. I want to bring up this EJI tidbit for today, because I feel like it's also part of this conversation. I chose it on purpose, thinking about you, Ashton. On November 24th, 1958, the Supreme Court unanimously decided Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham Board of Education, rejecting a challenge to Alabama's school placement law. The law, designed to maintain school segregation and defy the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education decision, allowed Alabama school boards to assign individual students to particular schools at their own discretion with little transparency or oversight. And after the North Carolina law was upheld by a higher court in 1957, legislatures in other southern states passed similar pupil placement laws. By 1960, such laws were on the books in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, North Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and the city of Atlanta. A lot of times people ask me, why are you bringing up these tidbits? This way back in 1958. Now here we are in 2025. But even now we have a government that is choosing to use this same principle of the school placement, like the same principle. We want to give certain people, certain children, an opportunity to go to certain schools, and we want to design it so that other children cannot go to those schools. We want to create barriers. We want to create situations where, especially Black children, they cannot reach the height of their potential because they don't get the same resources. They don't get the same attention. They don't get the same care. All of that continues to happen right here in 2025. And that's why we have to continue to have these conversations, because the system has yet to be dismantled. And that means all of us need to be doing more work to dismantle that. But when I thought about you, Ashton, I wondered if that is part of your story, because I don't know, I'm not in the fashion world, so I don't know how many Black male designers there are, but me meeting you, I was like, I just had that question about, is this something that you can relate to, where when you began to talk about what you wanted to be when you grow up, when you began to chase your dream, when you began to go on your own personal journey, like, was this part of the conversation? People thinking like, no, this space doesn't belong to you.
Well, that's an excellent question. I mean, to be completely honest with you, that was the challenge. I mean, when I worked in the fashion industry in New York City, I didn't see others like me in management. I didn't see them in those design spaces. So I strategically mapped out my journey to say, I'm going to learn as much as I can so I can be the best that I can. So just to bring you up to date, the project that I'm working on right now is to give back. We are actually working on a sewing academy And this is hot off the press, literally hot off the press. We are going to be opening the school in the first quarter next year. And the goal of the school is to be able to use all of the wisdom and knowledge that I've accomplished along my journey, and now to be able to give back, to teach the next generation, not just on the creative side, on how to design and drape and make garments, but how do you now scale up? How do you take your vision and now be able to manufacture that? That's usually where a lot of designers fall off the process, is because they don't have those connections. So I have a lot of resources from overseas to different countries, from very small factories to large factories, fabric mills, and all of this will be encompassed into the program. So the students that say, this is my dream too, I want to get there. We have the skills, the resources that we're going to take these students through the program. And then if they want to scale up, we're going to add in e-commerce training, social media. All of these components is what's going to make them successful. And as you were stating, I was just talking with a good friend, Scott from the Urban League, and we were just talking how we as a community,
Scott Hamilton.
Scott Hamilton.
Yeah, we know him.
Yeah, good people. He says he's listening, so Scott, if you're there, shout out to you. But the thing that we were talking about is that we have the power, we have the money, and if we as a community really just shop in each other's creative space, we can make a difference. And that is something where, so I want to create that space for these designers where they're not just developing their dreams, but the quality, the workmanship is all going to stand up to a space where everyone could benefit from this. And that's my legacy that I want to leave behind. I think that's my goal for now.
So Lo reminds us that history repeats itself. I'm sure he's thinking about the EJI tidbit, but it sounds like you, Ashton, are saying, yes, history might repeat itself, but it's up to those of us who have what it takes to break that cycle of history repeating itself. So because you were not expected to find success in the space, you're going to create the space for somebody else so that they can find the success and not have to face the same barriers that you face. I want to see if Tony has a question, especially since you said that you wanted to create stuff and you have other things on the market.
Yeah, one thing that I'm finding.
They said that they can't hear. Can you come up to the mic, son?
One of the things I'm finding out about in the conversation that is so fascinating, we started out with about rap, and I remember when I was rap started coming out in the late 70s, early 80s, and at first it was about conscious awareness. When you think about
Grandmaster Flash,
Public Enemy, and even Run DMC, it was a consciousness with it, and then it changed. And like you said to me, it went from, we don't want the consciousness, but we want to see what sells, and then it morphed into this hip hop thing. And but then in the 80s, early mid 80s, there was FUBU that came out. There was black on everything.
For you, by you.
Yeah, and so when you think about those things and how they crisscross, and you just mentioned studying in Paris, and I thought, man, I'm going to Paris on Friday. But you are so right, because whether when you think about cooking and you thinking about fashion, Paris is that center. Paris is that mecca. When you have all those fashion designers. And I was listening to you talk about New York, and when anybody that's ever been to the garment district or been to Fifth Avenue where the fashion houses are, it is, you don't see us. You don't see a lot of us. And so to be able to create something for us, to open the doors for us, that I think that's very important, because you think about all the young children who have these ideas of being the next big fashion designer or the next big fashion person, and not getting that opportunity. And the last thing I want to say is that when you start looking at going back to the EJI tidbit, that placement is still being done. You look at the voucher system here that has been created in Arkansas to put those students where we want them to be. and leaving the other schools behind. So just like with the Black Eyed Peas and what they did, something new and something fresh. That's what we have to create as a community. We have to create our own movements. We have to create our own freshness. And it's so amazing listening to you talk about your journey and talk about what you're trying to do. And let me tell you something. For people that know me, know there's two things that I love. Two things that's me. Food and scent. Those two things, you got me with that cologne. I mean, you had me from the scent. And if he think he leaving with that bottle, he got another thing. Security.
I'll be your security. I can stop it. Yeah.
But I really just want to just continue to encourage you in what you're doing as a Black man. I know it's difficult. So I can just imagine the difficulties that you had to endure in trying to get started in the fashion industry, trying to move in the fashion industry, and try to create a space not only for yourself but others in the fashion industry. And so to hear you and to see you in your accomplishment, it's an awesome thing.
Thank you so much. I think it's so important, and this is really what I tell the next generation of designers that are coming up. I say, you have to focus. I know it sounds like such a cliche statement, but it is so true. I think when I look over my accomplishments, I mean, even with the new fragrance that we just launched, it was something that I focused on years ago. It wasn't like to the audience, they may feel like, oh, it's a last minute thing that you just dropped. No, this was something I've been thinking about for years. I researched, I really understood what's the top selling notes, what's selling in the market, why does this work, why doesn't it work? So my advice to anyone in the listening audience, whether you're an actor, singer, dancer, even if you're a professional lawyer, doctor, you've got to focus. We live in a time now where social media is just overtaking us, Facebook, Instagram, but the success, you've got to really focus on your dreams. Don't feel like it's ever too late or I'm going to give up. And that is really, if I had to say, why did I accomplish the things that I did, is because I focused. And even when friends thought I was crazy, a lot of people like, you're moving to Arkansas. I told them, I said, you know what? You don't have to understand the dream. I know why I had to come here. Mm-hmm. And all that I needed was in the next chapter, was waiting for me. So had I listened to the people around me and stayed in the comfort zone, of New York City, this next chapter would not have taken off. Here I was able to write my book. Here I was able to launch my fragrance. Now I'm able to put together a sewing academy, which is all part of the bigger vision that would not have gotten accomplished in New York because there was so much distraction, there was so much going on that I needed this space. And I met such amazing people. I met Tony, Denise, Scott. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I look at that as an advantage. So keep that in mind. And my words to everyone is, don't be afraid of the next. Do not be afraid of the next. Stay focused and dive in.
And you mentioned something. I do have a question here, but first I want to say that you mentioned something about spending, and you were talking about the power of us spending with each other. Mm-hmm. I just want to remind us that we have been called to another economic blackout, particularly around Black Friday, mm-hmm. which is, I think it's this Friday. Yes, and I defined the term before, but I'll define it again. Black Friday is not named that because they want to celebrate Black folks. It's not named that because they are doing this for you to reach out to. That's not why it is. Usually it's at the end of the year, corporations, companies, they're thinking about their bottom line. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times their bottom line is in the red, meaning that they have lost money. Yeah. And so they created this particular holiday event sale so that they can try to get in the black, because when you are in the black, that means that you are, that's a positive thing. Mm-hmm. And we should take something from that symbolism, that the black means you're in the positive, and the black means that you've made some money. And so they're trying to, this is their last ditch effort at the end of the year to make sure that they can exploit from you as much money as possible. Right. And so they've got all these commercials already about Black Friday. They started a long time ago. And we're asking you, the community, the Black community is asking you, as Black folks in particular, as members of the diaspora, as diasporians, members of the diaspora, we're asking you in particular to say, no, I don't have to spend my money like this in these big box places. But if I am going to spend my money, I'm going to spend my money with small Black businesses. That's what we're asking you to do. And I've been on this economic boycott since before Resurrection Sunday. Mine started then. And so it's not just Target, but it's Target, it's Walmart, it's all of these places, Target, Walmart, Costco, it's all of these big places that want your money, Home Depot, all of those places. We're asking you to resist spending your money, particularly on Black Friday. We have so much buying power on the workplace. These last couple of Thursdays, I've been talking about the buying power that we have and how Black folks alone spend $1.9 trillion just on holidays, just on holidays. So imagine how many academies we could build. Imagine how many hospitals, imagine how many nursing homes we could build with our own hands and go back to FUBU, for you, by you, if we would focus on how we spend our dollars. And so I wanted to say that since you talked about spending. And then here's the question for you from Lo. How much African influence goes into your work, Mr. Hall? How much African influence goes into your work?
Excellent question. The last collection I worked on, it was called East Meets West, and it was a collaboration of Asian-inspired merchandise fused with Americana. We're getting ready to work on our next show. And the funniest thing is I was actually in New York maybe about a month ago, and I was in a Uber driver. The lady was from Africa, and we were just talking about what I do, and I told her I'm a designer, and she says, well, what's your next collection about? And I said, we haven't narrowed it down, but I'm looking to work with the autism organization, but most importantly, I need some vibrant colors to really push it forward to give that, foundation for the collection. So she says, well, you should really go to Africa. They make the most beautiful fabrics there, And then we were just going back and forth in that conversation. And I said, you're right. It's a place that I need to go in. Because usually when I work on a collection, I go to that country. I spend about 2 weeks to study not just the colors, but I get, engrossed into the culture per se, between the food, the people, and all of that. That gets woven into the direction for the collection. And the woman and I, we just kept laughing. And I said to her, the funniest thing is I never travel with my passport when I do domestic flights. I have my driver's license, which is enough to get me through, the checkpoints. But I said, for some reason, I felt the need to bring my passport. She says, well, you know what that means? You need to go to Africa. You need to just go now. And I said, okay, let's go. She says, well, I can take you to the airport. I said, well, let's do it. I said, let's make it happen.
Wow.
I said, but I think we're missing one step. Don't I need like shots or something? And then we just started laughing about it. But I think but what happened in that moment, it triggered something within me creatively to say, you know what? This could be the most interesting collection now, where I go back to the motherland and do a deep dive research to really, and she told me specifically, go to this place where you can see them weaving the fabric. You want to see it from scratch, how they take the colors and they dye them and they weave them and make these combinations. She said, that's going to take you to the next level creatively. So to answer that question, I'm all about it. I'm all about mixing cultures and creating a collection that's going to leave a lasting impression.
Two things I regret in my life. People ask, do you have regrets? Most people say, no, I don't live with regrets. Well, I have two regrets in my life. And both of them happened during the moving process. When I moved from Mississippi to Arkansas, I gave away a lot of my books. And I wish that I had never done that. I wish I still had those books on my shelves. And when I was moving from one house in Petaway to another house, I left my African batik, those, because I've been to Meru and I got them there. And so as soon as you said the vibrant colors, I can still see the image on that, on that print. They can't hear y'all. So pull up the mic. I mean, the sound over here is all the way.
Can they hear me better now?
Y'all let us know if you can hear them better now. Tony, y'all put the mics to yourself, because they said that they can't hear the other people. And y'all been saying some good stuff. Okay. Thank you, community, for showing up for us, for letting us know how we can or cannot be heard.
Because I heard you clear on radio.
Oh, okay. So the radio. Okay. So we want to. So yes. So the African influence, you're still working, but those are the two regrets that I have. Is just not. And then I was just in New Mexico, and when you talked about, she said she wanted you to see it. I went to Rome last year, and I took a class so that I could see how we. Well, I took a class, but I also took a tour so that we could go and see the natives making the pasta. We see, and so then I went to New Mexico, and I could see them threading the beads for the moccasins and teaching. And this particular young woman was teaching her granddaughter how to do the same thing. And so when they talk about being on the ground and seeing it for yours, it's a whole lot different than what we do, especially what the colonizers do. They think they know something about somebody else's culture, and they come over here and build a whole empire, and you have yet to go and set foot on the ground. And so I think that there's something to say about the sacredness of sitting with people who are the true creators, that we glean from, that we learn from, and then we create on our own. We recreate based on what we've learned. And so I think that that's very important. I want to talk a little bit about your book because we're running out of time. I want to talk a little bit about the book. The name of the book is Unstitched. Can I see it really quickly? The name of the book is Unstitched. And one of the things that is absolutely unwavering in this Unstitched, that's it right there, those of you who can see, absolutely unwavering is your dedication and your devotion to the Black women in your lives. You talk about your father, but the way that I was surprised you weren't an English major, because I'm an English major and I love words. And so when I was reading your book, when I was reading your website, like the way that you use words and the way that you spin them to tell your story and to create the images in our heads and even in our noses and our ears, like it's like, because I know when I was reading about that fragrance, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I'm like, bergamot, wait, what now? The green notes, like what now? And so I wanted to just talk a little bit about he's still smelling on his hand. Talk a moment about the power of Black women in your life.
Wow, this, when I was writing this book, Unstitched, it was my mother had passed away about 2 years ago, and it really devastated me because within my family there's 7 siblings. But I was really the closest to my parents, and especially to my mother, because she's someone where it's because of her that I became a designer. I used to watch her sew, make garments for all of us, and it just really pushed me to another level of from a creative standpoint. And just throughout my journey, my mother would call me every other day, and if I missed that phone call, she would call and just fuss with me because we're from Jamaica, so she would come in and just, why you not calling me? I call you. You call me that. So she goes right in on me, and I say, well, I was busy. She said, you should never be too busy to take my call.
Mm-hmm.
So when she passed away, I had to really push through the loss, and I found that journaling was my immediate go-to for solace. And then during that time, this book of Unstitched came through because I really started to say, well, let me go back to. The book opens in a very tragic way where I talk about the moment at the gravesite when the body's being lowered. And I had to push myself there because the last time we spoke was Thanksgiving. So every Thanksgiving it comes back around to remind me that was the last time we spoke. And I had a disagreement with one of my siblings. And I just told my mom, that's it. I'm just not coming back. I'm not coming back to Florida. This is the last time you're going to see me. And I went into a place where I wish I could take those words back because she was gone. She passed away 2 months after that, and it was my brother that really talked me off the ledge. He was like, do not take this on. You did not cause this. It was her time to go, think of the positive. And that's when I started to journal. And I reflected on all the fun times we had, the trips that we did, the conversations, the moments when I felt defeated, and she would just talk me out of those moments. So I have, in my home, a large picture of her, and then I have a letter that she wrote to me. It's actually in the book. I have the copy of the letter, and then I, typed it out so you can clearly read the words. And in there, she reminds me of who I am. She tells me, out of her 7 children, she says, I know who you are, and I know the greatness in you. And never change. And there are times I can read that letter and just smile, and there's other times I can read it and I'll shed a tear because I can hear her voice so clearly, and that's the thing that keeps pushing me now. Like, even there are days where I say, am I too old to do this? Maybe I should be in a rocking chair. But you know what? It's in those moments when I can hear her saying no, because it's not about you. You have to remember, it's a much bigger purpose than yourself. And when I think of it like that, it pushes me to say, you know what, come on, let's get up, let's go. What's the next project? Who do you need to reach out? What connections do you need to make? Because again, at the end of the day, you're changing lives. And I just want to drop this one little tidbit, the other side of Ashton Hall is we also have philanthropy, where right now I sponsor a school in Pakistan. So each month I send money, and that takes care of school supplies, the uniforms, the children are able to get their lunches and things of that nature. And when I went to visit that school many years ago, it started in like the home of the teacher. It was just in his one-room home. And he had a vision. He said, I really see myself expanding the school to like 2 levels and the teachers and the whole nine. I went back last year, and all that he said he wanted to do, he's doing. So the next phase is we're adding in a sewing school there, because we want to teach the women in that community a skill set that now they can make product and they can sell and they can be economically empowered. So again, I look at this gift that my mother had, that she taught me, and I'm able to change lives. So it's so much bigger than me, and that's why I can't give up. I have to keep going.
And when you said you had a school and you're supporting somebody in Pakistan, I could just hear some people saying, you got to go all the way to Pakistan to find somebody to support. There's people right around here. There's children right around here. And so I used to sponsor a school in Africa. And I want to ask this question to you. But for me, it's so much easier. The government, it's so much easier to send money and support money and to send supply than there's so much red tape in America. Yeah. There's so many barriers to just being charitable, to just being giving. And so sometimes when people are like, why can't you serve the people right around you? Honestly, on some level, the country doesn't let you, right? It's almost like we traffic in poverty. We traffic in disparity. Like, we love that. Like, that's what we are drawn to in this country. And other countries that they're like, look, you want to help us, and your dollars go so much further in those places. And so I just wanted to, because I could hear somebody saying, well, what you doing for the children here? But you did talk about the school that you have here, but we're running out of time. And so I want to make sure that you have an opportunity, because one of my questions also, I got a whole list. I ain't even asked but one question. But one of the questions I also wanted to ask is, what led you to the perfume, to the fragrance? Because you wrote the book, and now you've got the fragrance. You've also got the candles. So can you talk a little bit about, really more so talk about the need to diversify, right? Because you're not just a designer, but now you are a fragrance creator. Now you are a candle maker, like, to help people understand the multiple streams of revenue that we need to be thinking about as we fight to be independently sustained in this country.
So 2 things is the reason why I'm extending the brand now with the fragrance and then with the candles is, as I was saying, to keep in mind that when I started my career and I was in design school, I also layered in working in the cosmetic industry. So,
it didn't work too well for you, though. Well, from your book.
Yeah, when you read the book, you'll understand.
Don't quit your day job, sir.
Right. But but the thing is, I tell everyone that along the way, I was beginning the foundation, meaning I learned so much from those different product lines. And I said, one day when I work on my collection, I want it to be a lifestyle brand. I want it to be more than just clothing. So when I had the opportunity to research for my last show, I said, now is the time. And I felt like, let me just dig in. So I met with the perfume company, and we sat down and I worked with the chemists to come up with this fragrance and even the packaging. And can I tell you, I've never seen anything like this, and I've been in this fashion industry for some time. It is selling like crazy. And I have someone in this studio.
Oh yeah, I see why.
He can verify that. I mean, really, I show the product and people are like, can I get it right now? Please tell me you have it available in your bag somewhere. But I think, again, what I like about the fragrance is it's something where, clothing is something where it may fit a certain person. You have sizing restrictions or colors, but this is something that it's just meeting the masses. So I'm so grateful that I did jump into it. And I tell all designers, don't be afraid to grow. Don't be afraid to expand, but do it strategically. And that's how I'm doing it. I'm doing it strategically.
Is this a unisex fragrance or?
And the thing that's so exciting, we developed the fragrance and I'm testing the market, and both men and women are loving the fragrance and are buying the fragrance. So should I market it as a unisex fragrance? I guess the public is telling me to do that. But right now we call it by Ashton Hall is the name of the fragrance. And I'm just riding out the wave, and I'm enjoying the opportunity that it's changing lives by people who are falling in love with it.
Yeah, I would not I would not encourage you to market it as a unisex fragrance at all, because I feel like we need to break down those barriers of what women should do and what men should do and what you're supposed to smell like. If you smell it and you like it, you should get it. Like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter as long as you buy it, you like it. And I want to make sure that we don't leave out our gender non-conforming siblings as well. But I definitely would not put any kind of sex to it, because I think again, you talked about sizing restrictions. We have so many restrictions on us, on our bodies, and so I definitely would not encourage that. If marketing people say you to do it, hey, but I don't think so at all.
I think we're just going to market it as a fragrance. This is the Ashton Hall fragrance. This is my first release. Go for it, and let's see how far it goes. We have the candle coming out behind it, and then next year we have the moisturizer and shower gels to follow.
And that's the one thing that when I first smelled the scent, it's yeah, and that's what But the one thing that I like about it, like I said, I am a fragrance person. And I like fragrances that are not packaged. You have a lot of fragrances that are just packaged. It's mass produced and it's packaged. But there are certain fragrances that you smell that you know that this is something that's unique. This is something that was thought about. This is something that was put together, and it's just awesome. It's just awesome.
You got like 2 seconds, Ashton Hall, if you want to say something to close us out.
Well, the last thing I'm going to say is the website, because I guess is how this works. So you can find me at www.ashtonhallcollection.net. That's where you can purchase the fragrance. The merchandise will go up probably next quarter, because we are working on some amazing items, from leather accessories to some of our cashmere programs. But again, I would say sign up for the website. That's the best way to stay in touch with all of our upcoming events, shows, and things of that nature.
Thank y'all so much for joining us for the Community Voices right here live at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Do not touch that dial. You've got your girl Lola coming in hot this morning for Jazzy Tuesdays, and she's going to get started with the ladies. And so we're going to start her off right now with Love Don't Live Here Anymore by Rose Royce. And want to make sure that you think about the words, Love Don't Live Here Anymore. We need to be talking about how much we love this system. We are so complicit in all of these systems, the way that they are designed. That's what they're designed for. But at some point, we got to say, you know what? You don't deserve my attention anymore. You don't deserve my love. You don't deserve my presence. You don't deserve my dollars. You don't deserve none of me. And we need to make a difference. And so think about that as you're listening to these words. Love don't live here anymore. And we'll see y'all next time.
Don't forget to donate.
Hold on.